everybody. I've just done my first charcoal bath that I did correctly. I think I tried one some years ago when I was injured. I used the wrong kind. You don't want to use coconut charcoal for bathing or for really anything on the skin because it's so fine it just won't come off. Um, but the kind I used was from the Charcoal House. It was the first aid kind. It was the hardwood charcoal that they have. I talked to them about what would be best for a bath situation. And I don't 100% know if it was okay to do one because I am chelating today. So I wouldn't recommend mixing those two at length. Um, but my pain has been in a situation where I felt like I had to try something. And so my hand is still really bothering me. And I did drive to go get some arnica gel and got that, and then ended up buying some BioFreeze. If you buy it in the little tub instead of in a tube, um, it has much more to it. I think the menthol in that one is like 10% rather than like 3%. So just a tip. And I tried that on the way home, and because I'm used to using arnica right now, which activates real fast on the pain, the BioFreeze really doesn't. It took a good 20 minutes of driving for me to really notice it. Um, and of course, those two are both, they have synthetic ingredients in them. The arnica says says it's a natural thing, but most of what's in there is synthetic. So I followed the guidance of the person that I talked to at the charcoal company, and she recommended half cup to 1 cup in a bathtub. And because I wasn't going to fill the bath up all the way initially, I kept it at just a half cup. Um, the best thing that happened is that whereas coconut charcoal will get your bath really dirty and it will be really hard to clean up after that, this actually cleaned soap scum that I didn't know was there. I knew there was some calcification on the bathtub that I was having trouble getting off, but this found some kind of lower in the bath. I'm used to not being able to get the stuff higher in the bath. And this just took it right off. It just grabbed it, and I just went like this with my finger, and it turned it into a black powder on my hand, which also came off real easy. And it was just the funniest thing. So the main thing I was worried about was, am I going to mess up my tub? And it actually cleaned my tub. So the bottom of my tub that has less enamel on it, it kind of got in there a little bit more. So I'll probably have to clean that a little bit different way. But since I'm going to be doing it regularly right now, there's no point in, trying to be a hero about it. And I only have one arm right now. So that's one thing you can notice about that. That's hardwood charcoal only, mind you. Possibly bamboo charcoal too, but I was told even though the bamboo is more sustainable, and I asked about that, they said, yeah, for your needs and for bathing, hardwood is really going to be your best one. So I did that. I'm real happy with the results. I've been feeling really, really, I'm in a lot of pain right now, and I'm frustrated that this 5 days that I had planned to work on a paper proposal, I just really had to come to terms this morning as I was grounding by a tree that, if you can't get if you can't get research done to write a half-page proposal, you're not going to be able to write that paper right now. So it is on a really good topic, and it did give me a sense of an active voice in some other areas. It was about the literature of care and the praxis of care within the academy. And that's something I hadn't really thought about before, in a paper format, but I deal with every day. So I was good to start. This is my language problem again. I was glad to start thinking about that. And that will have to be enough for right now. The great thing about academia, if you're not a professional, is that there's no work that gets lost, right? Like if you've started work, it's always there to pick back up again. And as a person who is sick, that is becoming more and more a balm for me to think about. So, and since I am going to attempt so far to take another class, just a small creative writing class, but I have to get a lot better if I'm going to take any other classes, because I've taken the easy ones at this point. All the rest of them are going to be much more demanding. But back to the bath. So what I did, it gets black very quickly. I mean, really, you put 2 tablespoons in there and it'll be a black bath all of a sudden. Where I think I may have, cheated and maybe messed up my chelation a bit is your feet have the most pores on them, I'm told. I haven't checked this actually, so I shouldn't, don't quote me on that or anything, but I don't know. A person who researches heavily told me recently that we have the most pores in our feet, and perhaps that is part of why we love to treat our feet. But it would make sense, because your feet are the ones that in nature you would always be in contact with the earth, and that's how you're pulling electrons in from the earth. So I am taking my alpha lipoic acid to chelate, but to be fair, it is possible that I pulled a bit of that out. I try not to stay in the bath too long. The only problem with these treatments is they make you feel so good when you're doing them that then you're like, oh, 5 more minutes. Oh, 5 more minutes, and then it gets too much when you're processing the detox later. I will say that I am having a common experience whenever I'm doing any kind of charcoal poultice or in the bath. I noticed it again too. I'm not having this issue when I take it internally, but anything topically that I do with it so far does have a pretty strong detox effect on me. And the place I notice it first is in my torso. And it just feels kind of tight. Sometimes a little achy, but I'm achy so much of the time anyway. That's not really what I notice, but I'm trying to pay attention to that tightness, because the tightness does increase over time. So as soon as I feel the tightness, I know it's time to get out of there. Probably before I feel the tightness would be a better time to get out of there. And especially since I'm chelating, probably just 5 minutes in the bath would have been wise. It just felt so good though. And I just have been in so much pain and so fatigued that just being in there and feeling not neurologically overloaded was very helpful. And I need some more of that. So anyway, I did that, and we'll see. I'll post another video about if that worked out okay or not. So that you have one person's idea. Now, what I did do, and I'm already regretting it really, but when I was at Walmart, they did have a generic version of BioFreeze and a generic version of the Boiron Arnicare, which is the arnica gel that's most widely available. That's the French homeopathy brand. There were a few different inactive, there's no such thing as an inactive ingredient, but there were some different inactive ingredients, but they were not more or less pure looking, more or less natural looking from one brand to the other. So I ended up trying this because if it works, it'll save me, $1 every time I have to do it. This is set up in a roll-on, which normally I also wouldn't like. It's just, it's more plastic and it's more gross stuff to throw in the trash. But I'm going to try it. It is still the same amount of stuff in there. So I'm going to try that. And then I bought the BioFreeze, but I don't have room for everything on my nightstand. So I'll show you that another time if I keep using that. And I had already tested out the Boiron a few times. I had a little sample of the gel and then of the arthritis cream. Mostly it's just different because one's going to be a little more drying than the other. And, I don't want it to be drying over time. If I'm using it a lot, I'd kind of rather use the cream, but, everybody's skin is different. Now, I will say people who are using charcoal topically over time often see the improvements in the quality of their skin. And I will say, even just having been in the bath, I mean, you can see my skin color a little bit here. And I have a spot here, and this is from doing an LED near infrared therapy on my face for a little while a few years ago. And it's right there, and it is where I got burned during a car accident quite a few years before that. But it pulled that up. It wasn't there before the LED, and this was before I knew that LED has a very wrong sine wave, a toxic sine wave for humans. And so, presumably the engineer who designed that contraption didn't know that and wasn't trying to cause harm, but it did harm, and in fact, it's grown a bit. I mention it because some of the guidance within the charcoal space is I am noticing, I mean, just the tonification of my skin and the better color in my skin than usual, and the better, like there's a shine to it right now. It's not oil because my skin's on the dry side, but just, I mean, that's a brightness that I haven't seen in a long time. So this here is part of my cortisol disorder. It goes down when I'm on steroids, but it's common with the cortisol disorder. Some people call it rosacea, but it's actually a cortisol disorder in at least most cases. Maybe there are exceptions. So, but I'm told that for people with my skin tone, that it can kind of pull, age spots down some. So it will be interesting to just see if that happens. I did go ahead and dunk my head under. I could tell that the charcoal was not sticking and was being able to come off real easy, and so I did dunk my head in since my skin was feeling so good from it. And it seems to have come out. Obviously, I did wear I put on dark clothing afterwards, but most of my furniture and my linens are light colored. And so I'll just have to be a little careful and, see how it goes. But, the health is a lot more important than the color of the linen. So that's what I know about that experience. And I have to keep chelating for another day and a half or something like that. And hopefully I didn't mess it up. But it did. I will say I had put the BioFreeze on it, and I had put Arnica on it before I even left the house, or else I wouldn't have been able to leave the house. I haven't used this hand at all today, but I did put that on it. When I got in the bath, it was like whoosh. It just like I had enormous sensation in that. It wasn't pain, but it was enormous amount of sensation. And if I hadn't known the charcoal was going in and tearing that off and binding to those synthetics, I probably would have been concerned. But, that's what it does. We'll see. Even when I've done the poultice, as soon as I put that charcoal poultice on, that paste on, the pain goes very far down. However, as soon as I take it off, it's no longer, impactful anymore. So, and of course, trying to detox a hand when it's not the hand's fault. It's like blaming the sausage for being poisoned when the reason it's poison is because, the pig was poisoned upstream in the supply chain, it's not really very valid. So we still have to, most of what I do with the charcoal should be not on the extremities, certainly not expecting it to do anything much on the extremities. So we'll see. I'll do a quick follow-up to this one if there's anything to report, good or bad. And I just know there's not much on charcoal right now on YouTube and, even on people's experiences, and definitely not anything useful or like valid that I can find. So, so while this is not authoritative in any way, and I can't, give you anything authoritative. Even if I had more opportunities to watch people's personal experiences with the charcoal, I would find that helpful. So anyway, maybe this will be helpful for somebody. And this is literally the only thing I can do because I don't have a hand, and so I can't go feed myself and I can't do anything, and it just is what it is.